Hey y'all, I'm Tanvi, and this is Sweet Serenity Kitchen, where you can find me whipping up all things sweet. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, thanks for coming back. So today I am making Bailey's hot chocolate bombs. I know I'm a little late to this because people have been making hot chocolate bombs on the internet for months now. However, I wanted to put my own twist on it, so instead of using hot cocoa, I'm using a hot chocolate ganache, so it'll give me a deeper flavor, which is what I prefer when I'm drinking hot chocolate. And to kick it up just a little bit, and because we're adults, I'm adding Bailey's to the mix. So if you want to follow along, the ingredients are listed down in the description, and if you want the written instructions, those will be in my blog, which is also listed down below. Now, let's make some hot chocolate. We're going to start by preparing our ganache. First, we're going to warm up our Bailey's cream. I'm using the stove, but you can do this over the microwave as well. I'm using a medium-high heat and bringing the cream just to a boil. You don't want to get it much hotter than that because you don't want to scorch the cream. Now we're going to take our cream and pour it over our chocolate chips. We're going to let this sit for 2 to 3 minutes and give the chocolate a chance to melt. After the chocolate has had a chance to sit, we're going to whisk it. At first it's going to look like it won't come together, but just keep whisking and eventually you'll get a silky chocolate ganache. We can set this aside to cool until it's time to assemble. Now we're going to get our melting chocolate ready for our shells. We want to microwave this at 30-second intervals and stir in between each interval. You don't want to do more than 30 seconds because you don't want your chocolate to overheat and burn. Next, we're going to fill our silicone molds. I've linked the ones that I'm using down in the description box just in case you need it. I use about 2 tablespoons of chocolate to make sure that I can get it even coating around the sides and on the bottom of each compartment. Now you're going to go through each compartment one by one, making sure all the sides and the bottom are covered in chocolate. If your chocolate gets a little cool during this process, you can microwave it for a few seconds to heat it back up. So here, we're going to turn our molds upside down onto wax paper to drain the excess chocolate out of the molds. We're using wax paper because once the chocolate that has melted dries on there, you can lift it up off of the paper and use it again. And now these go in the refrigerator for about 5 minutes. Now we're going to do a second coating just around the edges of our molds. We're going to reinforce this part because this is where they're the weakest and tend to break. We don't really need a whole second coat around the entire mold because we don't want our shells to be too thick. Then we refrigerate for another 5 minutes. Remember the ganache we made at the beginning? That should now be cool enough that it's not super runny. So we're going to add this to a piping bag to make it easier to put into our shells during assembly. At this point, our shells are ready to come out of the mold. You want to be really gentle with this part because you don't want your shells to break. I typically will focus on freeing out the edges first, and then I'll put my focus on the bottom of the shells, peeling the silicone back. That way there's no pressure on the edges that would encourage breaking. Finally, we're ready for assembly. We have everything we need here: our ganache, our warm pan, our marshmallows, and our shells. We're going to take our first shell and melt it on the warm pan to make sure we get even edges. You want to make sure that pan is warm so that your chocolate doesn't melt too much. Next up is the Bailey's ganache. I add about a tablespoon or so to the bottom shell, and that seems to be enough to give me the chocolate flavor that I need. Then we're going to add our marshmallows. You can put as many marshmallows as you want in here as long as the top will go on it. Lastly, we're going to grab another shell and melt the edges just like we did with the first one on the warm pan. This time we're going to use the melted chocolate as a glue to adhere it to that bottom shell so everything stays together. And you just continue the process until all of your shells have been filled. And now it's time to decorate. You can get as creative as you want here. The sky is the limit. You can use colors, you can use sprinkles, you can use glitter. I chose to keep mine simple with a drizzle of white chocolate. Bailey's hot chocolate. It has that deep chocolate flavor, plus you get a nice little kick from the Bailey's. It was definitely worth the hard work. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, you can find this recipe and more on my blog, sweetserenity.com. Until next time, bye.